wanted to talk about candy cane chest belts. Candy cane chest belts are a great finish for any carry that is supposed to tie at the shoulder and has a ruck strap on the opposite shoulder. But I see a lot of people who talk about candy cane chest belts being uncomfortable, or they ride up into their neck, or all sorts of other issues, or they talk about candy cane chest belts causing slack to creep back into their carry. So I'd like to talk about a couple different things with candy cane chest belts. And the first thing is that very rarely is slack coming out of a candy cane chest belt. So if you are always dealing with a carry that finishes with that chest belt sagging, the slack is probably somewhere else in the rest of your carry. And so the first step to a candy cane chest belt is just to make sure that the carry you're starting with is well tightened, which is going to look different for every carry. I have a simple ruck tied at the shoulder, wrapped here, and so the two steps that I'm going to take is to tighten both the underarm tail and the over shoulder tail. To tighten the underarm tail, because it's coming out of this ruck strap, is I'm just going to pull down on this ruck strap that has already been strand by strand tightened before the bunch pass. I'm going to pull down on the ruck strap and kind of pull out on the tail end at the same time to make sure there's no slack hiding in there. And then I'm going to pin that under my chin and strand by strand tighten the over shoulder tail. Very well to make sure that the other pass over baby is well tightened. Okay, so now the other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to cross these two tails with the over shoulder tail on the bottom, and I'm going to do a quick bounce and pull. So the underarm tail that's coming across horizontally on top, I'm going to pull towards my midline, and the over shoulder tail that's coming down under the cross, coming straight down, I'm going to pull down, bounce and pull until that's nice and snug. And the third step to a good candy cane chest belt that a lot of people miss, and they talk about candy cane chest belts like riding up into their neck, is wherever you have this cross started, that's the height that your candy cane chest belt is going to sit at. So a lot of people will cross the tails way up by their collarbone, and then they make this chest belt, and then they're wondering why this chest belt is strangling them. So what you want to do is cross it wherever you want the chest belt to be. So for most people, that's going to be above any kind of fatty breast tissue, but well below your collarbone, wherever you want the weight hitting. So for a lot of people, that's kind of the bottom part of the flattest part of their chest. So I'm going to cross these, and then I'm going to start twisting in the same direction of the first cross. Kind of keeping tension as I go, which gets easier and easier with each twist. Then the next question is how many twists? And that's going to depend on you and the wrap you're using. In general, what you want is you want just enough twists for it to come across your chest, almost to that other ruck strap, but not quite. Because what you want the end of the candy cane chest belt to do is to pull this ruck strap in out of your armpit just a tiny bit. It shouldn't be able to pull this ruck strap in towards your sternum all the way. So you don't want to start twisting there. But you also want it to do something. You want it to bear some weight, so you want it to be pulling on this ruck strap a little bit. So I start it over here, twist across my chest, until essentially one more twist would get me to that ruck strap, and then I'm going to finish. And here's where you have some options. There are three main ways that I know of to finish a candy cane chest belt. And the main way, the most common, is just a half knot. And so if you're going to do a half knot, the best way to do that is to take whichever tail is on top of your twists at this point, it doesn't matter which one, and sneak it out under the ruck strap to the outside. And so it's going out under the ruck strap, and then you're gonna bounce the carry and pull this tail towards the outside, and then kind of U-turn it back towards your sternum. So as you do this, you'll feel this ruck strap tighten towards the center of your chest a tiny bit. And then you just tie the two tails in a half knot. You don't really need, this is one of the few cases in which you don't need a double knot to finish a woven wrap carry, because essentially every single one of these little twists is acting kind of as a half knot and keeping a lot of tension. So a half knot here essentially makes plenty of tension to keep it secure. And if you find it gets a little diggy under the ruck strap, where you pass that tail under, you can spread that out a little bit to make sure it's loading evenly and not creating a bunchy, diggy spot under your arm. So that's the most common way, but some people just visually don't like the look of knots, and that's fine. You can also finish a candy cane chest belt knotlessly. And so a knotless finish with a candy cane chest belt, you go back to this step. Like any other knotless finish, you have to go over the weight-bearing component and you turn back under. So I'm going to take this tail, whichever tail was on top at the end of my twists, and go over the ruck strap and U-turn back under. And usually it's easier to find space to do this closer to your armpit instead of closer to your shoulder. And then, like any knotless tuck, I want to spread this out evenly over the ruck strap. Make sure it's not bunched up weird. And then kind of strand by strand tighten it through the tail. And after it's evenly tightened, you're probably going to want to give it a good whole wrap. Bounce and pull straight down to pull that ruck strap in again. And you might be asking, but what do I do with this other tail? And if you notice this other tail, if you pay attention to where it's coming from in the twists, it's coming from this twist and going up over a weight-bearing component of the carry and then down under it. So essentially, this tail is making its own little knotless tuck, because as soon as you secured this tail, it became a weight-bearing, secure component of the carry. And so then the chest belt is secure with a knotless finish. Some people find this a little more diggy than the half knot finish, but it is perfectly secure. The third option is called the loop method, which is essentially a half knot, just a different way to get there. And that is, instead of going from like the tail end of the wrap and sneaking it out under the ruck strap, I'm gonna sneak my fingers under the ruck strap and just pull from the center width of that tail, the center of the length rather, and just pull a little bit through. So I have a loop going out under the ruck strap, and the tail end is still hasn't been pulled through yet. So I have this little loop sticking out on the outside of my ruck strap. And now I'm going to take the other tail and pull it out through that loop, and then pull the tail of the loop tight. And that is, again, creating a little half knot, but it sits a little flatter than a regular half knot visually. So that's the basics. A couple of things that I wanted to cover is if you have a wrap with particularly long tails that you still have excess after the candy cane chest belt, you can do a double candy cane chest belt, which is purely visual. And so for this, I think it looks best with the knotless finish. So going out. Let's do this out over the ruck strap with one tail. Then you turn back under. And normally I'd spend more time spreading this out to get that tuck spread out and even. But after this, this is secure, but I can then take these two tails and twist them back together, going the other way across my chest. And do another knotless tuck back through the bottom side of the other ruck strap. It just uses up some extra length. Makes it a little bit of a fancy finish. Kind of looks a little bit like a Rapunzel chest belt without all the work. And the last thing that I wanted to cover was a lot of people like to start their candy cane chest belts with a half knot. So at the beginning, when I crossed the tails and started twisting, a lot of people prefer to start with a half knot here. So that the carry is secure at the beginning, and then they do their twisted candy cane chest belt, and you can finish on the far side however you want at that point. And this is fine. Most people I know find this to be the most uncomfortable because it creates a very sharp pressure point where that knot is. And in my experience, a lot of people who prefer this are doing it because they have slack creeping into the carry and they're blaming the candy cane chest belt. And so it's their way of securing the carry before doing the chest belt so they don't lose tension. And so you can do it if you find it comfortable, but I find it a little unnecessary and you sacrifice some comfort. So I hope that answered some of your questions about candy cane chest belts. This is a great finish for carries like double hammock tied at the shoulder, Russian Jordans, back carry, candy cane chest belt, ruck tied at the shoulder, and many other carries. And hope you enjoy it.